Good morning, everyone. This is Ann White, and I am the host of The Chicken Show. I'm also the founder of the Creating Calm Network, which is where you can find The Chicken Show. And normally, I have a guest on The Chicken Show, but today I will be interviewing myself. Today I'm going to be talking about essential oils, using essential oils with chickens. And I admit to being a novice with chickens. I am new to having chickens. I never even thought about having chickens until 6 hens showed up at my house to winter with me in Sheboygan, Wisconsin. And then I started learning and learning and learning. But I do know about essential oils. It is something I'm passionate about. My mission is health and wellness through holistic and organic natural methods and means. So when I had some situations with my chickens, instead of looking at toxins to sprinkle all over them or sprinkle around the coop, I started doing research into the use of essential oils on the chickens. And that's what I want to share with you today. So this comes from my oil experience and limited use on chickens. So I'm just asking to see if it works for you, see if it resonates with you. And I think many of us mother cluckers have chickens that are more than just flocks that are in the farm. These are our pets, and we want the very best for them. And also, they're going to be laying our breakfast, and we want the very best organic breakfast for us. So we don't want to be sprinkling toxins on the poor girls. Many of you have seen the commercials for the chicken show. I have a little barred rock hen named Roselle, who really, really wanted to be here today, but she's such a ham, and I didn't know if she had the patience for a 30-minute chicken show, so I've asked her to let me do it myself, although she has been a proverbial guinea pig for much of the essential oil remedies we're going to be talking about today. The biggest caveat with essential oils is to use a therapeutic grade essential oil. There are many oils on the market that are inexpensive, but they would be fragrance oils. And the fragrance is beautiful, but for the healing properties that I'm going to be talking about today, the importance is therapeutic grade. And for me, my choice has always been Young Living. Here's the lavender that we're going to be talking about quite a bit. I've been a distributor for Young Living oils for years. And so this is a company and a therapeutic grade oil that I'm very comfortable with. There are others, so as you do your research into what's right for you, just remember you want a therapeutic grade essential oil because that's where you get your healing benefits. Now we're going to be talking about quite a few oils today, but if you were to say to me, what would be the minimum I should have in my toolkit for my hens, and actually for yourself too, I've narrowed it down to 1, 2, 3, 4 for work with the coop, with our chickens, and with yourselves. So lavender is the biggest go-to. If all else fails, and if you can only get one oil, get lavender. Lavender is an antiseptic, it's antifungal, it's analgesic, anti-inflammatory, and very calming and relaxing. So lavender is a great one to have in your toolkit. And also, that wasn't Roselle. That was just a little chirping going on. And also, it's mites don't like it. Bed bugs don't like it, by the way. They say if you're traveling, to take lavender in a little spray bottle with water and spray it on the sheets because it'll kill bed bugs as well. So you can see why it's a good one to have. The next one would be a citronella oil. And again, citronella is antibacterial, antifungal. It's a great insect repellent. You can make your own insect spray in the summers. And it's also anti-parasitic. So it's very good to use against worms, as putting it on as a worm remedy. Oregano is the next. Powerful antiviral, anti-parasitic, which is what we need it for, antibacterial, antifungal. And the last one is eucalyptus. Eucalyptus citrodella, which is an analgesic, antiviral. It's a great insecticide. So if you had to have 4, I would pick lavender, citronella, oregano, and eucalyptus. And we might be talking about others, but those would be the main 4. And I don't believe any of them are real pricey. You know, with some of the oils, like a rose oil, because it takes so many rose petals to get that essence and the healing properties from the plant, that it's rather an expensive one. You can get cheap smelling rose, but you can't get the healing properties. So these are all pretty reasonably priced. Now let's go into how they can be used. Where I really started doing my research was I had a hen who was egg bound. So she had been laboring over this egg, and the first thing I did was I just grabbed lavender, because I, wanted to deal with her as I'm doing my research and figuring everything out. And it turns out that lavender is highly recommended for egg binding. There's a list of about 6 others. They're all similar. They all do the same thing. So stick with lavender. And what I did was I gave her a warm bath, as we all do with our egg-bound hens. But I used lavender, a couple drops of lavender in the water. And then as I needed to put a little oil on, use a very high-grade oil, again, because these are getting absorbed into her system. I use jojoba, but I also had an olive oil handy before I could get upstairs to get the jojoba. The olive oil was an Arbasana. So she had a extra virgin Arbasana oil, and she really did smell like I was going to be roasting her, but she would never, I'm a vegan, so that wasn't going to happen. But now that I look at the bottle, it's kind of hard. I think it's pretty much chicken oil. But take just to put a little drop of the lavender in the oil, very, very diluted. Because one thing with humans, some of these oils we can use as they call neat, just put it right on our skin. With our pets, we're not as, I wouldn't be as confident. So every time you're using an oil, I would dilute. So put a little bit in the oil that you're using just to rub around her vent. I don't think I would put it in her vent. If you're using oil inserts, I would stick with just the oil. But as part of an analgesic and part of a healing, I put it around her vent. The other thing I did for her was when I put her in a crate to work on her egg, and I diffused lavender. Again, it's a very calming smell. When I looked into a vet book, they recommended it was a Young Living oil, a peace and calming, which I have, but just stick with what you have handy. So lavender was good, and we had an egg by morning. Now, would we have had the egg by morning if I didn't use essential oils? Yeah, probably. But I think it gave her a more relaxed feeling, and also was non-toxic, holistic, so I would recommend that. I mentioned that there may be some other oils I'll talk about. One I have been researching and I have not used on the hens, but it is, when I did the research, other people are using it on the hens, is nutmeg. Again, nutmeg, put it in a carrier oil, and it is a painkiller. And the woman who I did the research on the internet said she did it with an egg-bound hen because she felt that there was a lot of pain in the area. It's anti-inflammatory, it's an anticoagulant, it's an antiseptic, anti-parasitic. So it was a wonderful choice to use nutmeg diluted in a carrier oil around the vent. So if you happen to have that essential oil and you have a chicken that you feel is in a lot of pain, that would be a good one to have. So that's how we can use the essential oils with egg-bound hens. The next lesson I learned, see, I always do my research as soon as it happens. So I had mites. So I started working with the mites, and the first thing I did was I stripped my coop down, and I made an essential oil mixture using a bottle with 4 ounces of pure water, distilled water, filtered water. Don't use tap water because it's too yucky even for us to drink. And then I used 4 drops of oil. Now, what kind of oil? I used, on one side of my coop as my experiment, my laboratory, I used oregano. Seemed to work fine. I sprayed down the clean coop with oregano and water. And then I put back some of the shavings and I sprayed them down with oregano and water. The other side, I used a citronella and eucalyptus mixture. They both work. And what I think my recommendation would be, and what I think is neat about essential oils, is the choices we have. Because suppose mites get used to a certain oil or a certain, they say with toxins, you know, if you're putting the chemical sprays on, sometimes they become resistant to that chemical. So I would say start with something like oregano, and then maybe the next week use a eucalyptus. Every time you change, use a different essential oil that is known as an anti-parasitic and one that is toxic to mites. So one of the things in the research I've done is lavender happens to be a toxic one for mites. So I made a bottle, 4 ounces of distilled water, 4 drops lavender, and I brought my girls in one at a time. I have 6. And I gave them a very thorough lavender spritzing under the wings, all through their feathers, and kind of rubbed it in so it got to their skin. And granted, they were rather wet when we finished. But I don't know about your chickens, but my hens love the blow dryer. On the low setting, they just nose off and or beak off, I guess. And I just keep the low setting going, and their feathers kind of ruffle. But they got each one got a beautiful lavender and water spritzing, and then blow dry. And I have to say that our mite problem has disappeared, but it's something that's going to be an ongoing thing. So each time a girl needs to come in for a little spa day, she'll get her lavender spray. And with the coops, I'm going to be using the spray with either lavender, citronella, oregano, or eucalyptus. Let's see, another remedy for mites. Oh, in the research, I saw another woman was using carrier oil with her, what was she using? She was using a eucalyptus. Again, lavender would be fine. And what she was saying is the carrier oil, and you get into where all those little eggs are, kind of asphyxiates them for a bit, and then the insecticide of the essential oil can get in and do their insecticide thing. I found that Newcastle University is testing different essential oils, since these contain chemicals, since these oils have no chemical toxins to the chicken, but they are toxic to the pests. For example, the linalool from lavender is toxic to red mites. The latest research from Newcastle University shows that red mite mortality rates decrease with time. So the oils need to be fresh to do their work, and that's why I said keep using therapeutic grade essential oils. Use it every time you clean your coop, spritz, spritz, spritz. So they're saying the female red mite lays her egg after a feed. There is also evidence through Newcastle University of the killing power of essential oils increases as the mites are starved for longer periods of time. So it's a good thing to even put on yourself when you're out there. And I happen to admit I did get a few bites. Now, were they mite bites or just insect bites from crawling around in the coop? So I have been using essential oils, and at the end of the show, I'll tell you what my mixture is. So, Newcastle University is also studying using essential oils as a mite treatment. One thing I have found in the research with essential oils, and this will not be pertinent to most of us who are backyard hen owners or urban hen owners, but I like the fact that companies or people who are doing more production are understanding the holistic, the organic nature of oils and getting away from the toxins. So a researcher, Walid Alawi, is using essential oils to kill salmonella in chickens and eggs. And he says he uses a mixture of thyme, eucalyptus, and oregano to kill the pathogens, and he likes their antibacterial qualities. So that's exciting news for all of us that we're getting more holistic ways of treating things like salmonella. Another research project is trying to get away from the antibiotic growth promoters that they use in hens, the AGPs, which are filled with tetracyclines and penicillins, and they are now finding good results by using an essential oil mixture of clove and oregano, and they also use garlic. I haven't seen the garlic. I chop garlic when I'm putting it in the water, but for these antibiotic growth promoters, instead of using all of the ones that, again, we know that things get immune to tetracycline and penicillin. So they're now using clove, oregano, and garlic. So those are some of the exciting studies that are going on. I think we're at the beginning of a great push into being more natural and holistic, not only with ourselves, but with our feathered friends. Also, our furs. I reach behind me. I've got a fur buddy back here, but I think he's sleeping. There's a dachshund back here named Ryan. And I use lavender oil on both of my dogs to get rid of, to make sure I don't have fleas. I don't need to get rid of them. It's a great flea protector. And I suppose you could just use the spritz with the water, but because I use so much lavender and I have it on my hands, whenever I have lavender, I'll just rub the dogs really good, give them a nice massage, and there is not a flea or a mite on the pups, and I think they like it. Essential oils can also be used in wound care. And a mixture, and again, these are going to be different oils than I talked about. If you have a wound and you have lavender, go for it. I mean, that's how lavender, the scientist whose name I can't remember, was working with essential oils, and he had a fire in his laboratory, had a burn, and he stuck his hand into a vat or a beaker that had lavender in it, and the scarring was very reduced, minimal, and that's when he started realizing the healing properties. So when in doubt, use lavender. But another mixture for wound care is if you have that carrier oil again, remember we're going to use a carrier oil or something to dilute the essential oils when we're working with our hens, 2 drops frankincense and 2 drops melaleuca. Excellent for wound care, not only for your hens, if you have something on your pups or even on yourself. All of these are remedies that I have used on myself. Well, not red mites. I didn't have mites until a couple months ago, but for bites and things like that. So I know they all work on humans. The difference is now we're starting to see that they can work on chickens with the use of a carrier oil or water. I'm in the Facebook group called Chickenista, and one of the women in the group, I think her name was Ruth, but I'm not sure, was telling me that an old farmer had a remedy for mites where he put garlic and lemon in their water once a week. Well, in the winter here, I have garlic on hand. I don't always have lemon, fresh lemon. So I've been putting a couple drops of the essential oil of lemon in their water. I put it in my water, I put it in their water. So is that killing their mites? I don't know, but I know right now we're all good. I promised that I would tell you the essential oil that I'm using on my mite bites or whatever bites I have, my little red bites. And I had used lavender, but I think that after a period of time, whether your body gets used to it as well. So I switched to an essential oil. This is a Young Living oil called Purification. And it's a blend that cleanses and disinfects, and it's great for bites from spiders or bees or mites. And it's a blend of citronella, lemongrass, lavender, rosemary, melaleuca, and myrtle. And last night, that was the first night I switched from my lavender blend and put the purification oil on. I have bites that are probably something got into my bra and just had a field day in there. So I put it all over my chest, and I'll tell you, I slept like a baby. So if nothing else, gave me a good night's sleep. So, and I didn't itch at all. So these are the essential oils I wanted to share with you: lavender, citronella, oregano, eucalyptus. And I give it a try with your hands. I'd love to know how it's working. I'd love to know more about the natural things you are doing to promote your hen health. And you can always reach me at ann@creatingcalmnetwork.com. That's ANN. I also have a website where I do health and wellness by Ann J. White. And the website link is www.healthandwellness by AnnJWhite.com. And there I do a master class on essential oils with a shaman and healer named Marilee Snyder-Nisiak, who is just a wealth of information on essential oils. She was the one who I went to first when I had the chicken with the egg. Even though she knew nothing about hens, she knew about essential oils too. So we put our minds together and came up with that. And I urge you, when you're looking at therapeutic grade essential oils, there are various companies. I said I'm a distributor for Young Living. I really enjoy that company. And when I became a distributor, I did it because I like the wholesale prices. So for many years, I was a distributor only for myself to use the oils. And you know, that would be one thing I would suggest to you is if you're interested in using these oils on your fur and feathered pets and flocks, think about being a distributor, and I'd be happy to talk to you about that. Then the nice thing is that as I'm semi-retired, I have the residual income that allows me to be with my girls and my pups more. Yeah, I wish you could see Riley, but you know, he's getting to that age where he's almost a year, and he's starting to growl. He doesn't like to be woken up. But he is my big chicken. He's all full of lavender oil. So you can see he's nice and fuzzy. There's not a flea on him. And the girls, the chickens, by the way, love to chase Riley because he is the biggest chicken of all. So all 6 of my hens, even little tiny Glozell, chases old Riley boy all around the chicken coop. It's kind of a sport. They see you and they know it's a sport. So what do we do about hen boredom? We send Riley out, and he takes him for a run. So that's about it. And White at creatingcalmnetwork.com. I'd be happy to answer any of your questions. I think this is a new and burgeoning field. Is that a word? Not a word. A growing field. I'm real excited about it. I'm excited to hear how it works with your hens, because most of you that I've been meeting through many of the Facebook groups, and especially the Chickenistas, are looking for natural, healthy, holistic ways, because we like to take great care and baby our chicks. Many of them are inside hens as well. So give me a shout out. You can find me on Facebook too, private message me there. If you have questions, if you have techniques that you have learned that we can share together, just exciting. So have a clucking good day, and thank you for letting me be with you on the chicken show. You see, I got all excited and just rattling away. I think I need to just settle down with a little bit. You know, one of the ways you can do for us essential oils is I don't dilute the lavender when I'm using it. It's on my hands. Smell it, and then I'll go back and give Riley a little flea treatment again. Oh, sweet old Riley. Take care. Have a clucking good day. I'm signing off, or I'll just sit and babble at you forever. So, see you next week on the Chicken Show. Much more in store.